The bus stop was a slab of cracked concrete under a flickering streetlight, tucked on a Dallas street where the city's hum faded to a murmur. Dusk painted the sky bruised purple, and the air smelled of diesel and rain that hadn't fallen. Chuck Norris, 84, stood alone, a grocery bag in one hand, milk, eggs, a loaf of bread for his wife. His denim jacket was worn, his cowboy hat tipped low, silver hair catching the light. No one noticed him. Not the man texting across the street, nor the couple hurrying past. To them, he was just an old man waiting for the 7:15 bus. Then she appeared. A young woman, maybe 20, in a nurse's scrubs, clutching a backpack. Her steps were quick, her eyes darting like a deer sensing wolves. She stopped at the bench, 10 feet from Chuck, and sat, pulling her bag close. Her hands shook as she checked her phone. Chuck saw it, the fear in her tight shoulders, the way she scanned the street. He'd seen that look before, too many times. 3 men rounded the corner, their laughter sharp, cutting through the dusk. Hoodies, boots, one with a chain glinting at his belt. They moved like they owned the street, their eyes locking on the woman. She froze, her phone slipping to her lap. The tallest man, lean with a scar across his cheek, grinned. "Hey, sweetheart, you lost?" His voice was syrupy, mocking. The others fanned out, circling the bench. Chuck didn't move, not yet. His boots stayed planted, his breathing steady. He watched, reading their intent in their swagger, the way they closed the distance. The woman shook her head, voice barely a whisper. "I'm just waiting for the bus." The scarred man laughed, stepping closer. "Bus ain't here yet. Plenty of time to chat." No one else stirred. The texting man glanced up, then away. The couple was gone. The street was empty, save for the hum of a distant car. Chuck's jaw tightened. He'd hoped they'd move on, but hope wasn't enough. Not tonight. He stepped forward, slow, deliberate, the grocery bag rustling. "She's waiting for the bus," he said, voice low, like gravel on stone. "Let her wait." The men turned, startled. The scarred one sized Chuck up, smirking. "What's this, Grandpa? You her bodyguard?" His friends chuckled, but their eyes flicked nervously to Chuck's stance, wide, balanced, unshaken. The woman looked at Chuck, her eyes wide, pleading. She didn't know him, but she knew danger. Chuck met her gaze, gave a slight nod, then faced the men. "Walk away," he said, not loud, but final, like a door closing. The scarred man's smirk faded. He stepped closer, chest puffed. "Or what, old man?" Chuck didn't flinch. His free hand hung loose, but his fingers flexed, ready. The air thickened, the street light buzzing overhead. Then, a twist, the scarred man's eyes narrowed, not with anger, but recognition. "You're him, aren't you?" he muttered, voice low. His friends froze, confused. "The one they talk about." Chuck said nothing, his silence heavier than words. The scarred man hesitated, then backed up, raising his hands. "We're just messing around, man. No harm." But his eyes darted to the woman, then to a black van parked across the street, its engine idling. "Tell her to watch her back," he said, voice cold. "This ain't over." The men retreated, their footsteps echoing, the van peeling away with a screech. The woman exhaled, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, tears brimming. Chuck set his bag down, crouching to her level. "You know them?" She shook her head, then nodded, voice breaking. "They've been following me. I don't know why." The bus hissed to a stop, its doors creaking open. Chuck stood, scanning the street. The men were gone, but the van's taillights lingered in the distance. "Get on," he said gently. "I'll make sure you're safe." She hesitated, then boarded, clutching her bag. Chuck followed, his eyes on the shadows. As the bus pulled away, a phone buzzed in the woman's bag. She pulled it out, her face paling. A text, "No sender, you can't run forever." Chuck saw it, his jaw tightening. This wasn't random. Someone wanted her scared, or worse. And now, Chuck was in it. The bus rumbled through Dallas's veins, its engine a low growl under flickering fluorescent lights. The seats were half empty, the air thick with the scent of vinyl and stale coffee. Chuck Norris sat near the back, grocery bag on his lap, cowboy hat casting a shadow over his eyes. Beside him, the young woman, Elena, gripped her backpack, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. Her hands hadn't stopped trembling since the bus stop, where 3 men had circled her like vultures. Chuck's words, not his fists, had sent them slinking away, but their warning, "This ain't over," hung heavy. Elena stared out the window, streetlights streaking across her face. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered, voice cracking. "But thank you." Chuck tilted his head, studying her. At 84, his eyes were sharp, reading fear like a book he'd opened too many times. "Who are they?" he asked, voice low, steady, like a campfire's glow. She hesitated, then exhaled. "My ex, Rico. The tall one with the scar. He runs with a crew, small time, but mean. I left him 6 months ago, after." She touched her wrist, a faint bruise peeking from her sleeve. "He won't let go. Keeps saying I owe him." Her phone buzzed again, screen lighting up. Another text, "No sender, you and the old man can't hide." Elena gasped, dropping the phone. Chuck caught it before it hit the floor, his reflexes belying his age. He read the message, jaw tightening. "They know you're with me," he said, handing it back. "Why?" Elena shook her head, tears brimming. "I don't know. Rico's crazy, but it's bigger. He's been following me to work, my apartment. Last week, he left a knife on my doorstep." Chuck's hand flexed, the grocery bag crinkling. He glanced around the bus, 6 passengers, none watching, but the driver's mirror angled toward them. "Where you headed?" he asked. "Home," she said, then faltered. "But it's not safe. I've been crashing at a friend's, but Rico knows where she lives too." Chuck nodded, his mind racing. This wasn't just a scorn ex. The van at the bus stop, the coordinated harassment, the texts, it felt organized, deliberate. Like a hunt. A memory flickered, unbidden. 10 years ago, Chuck had helped Dallas PD take down a gang tied to a cartel pipeline. He'd been a consultant, not a cop, using his security expertise to map their routes. One man, a low-level enforcer named Victor, had sworn revenge from a courtroom, his scar fresh across his cheek. Chuck had dismissed it, Victor was locked up, the case closed. But scars don't lie. Could Rico be Victor's kin, or worse, his pawn? The bus lurched, stopping at a red light. Chuck scanned the street. A black van idled 2 cars back, its windows tinted. His gut twisted. "Elena," he said, voice calm but firm, "you got family nearby?" She shook her head. "Just me. My parents are in Houston. I'm a nurse, working doubles to pay for school. Rico was my mistake." Her voice broke, and Chuck saw it, the weight of shame, the kind that traps good people. "You don't owe him nothing," Chuck said, echoing the subway story's quiet conviction. "And you don't face this alone." Elena looked at him, eyes searching. "Why help me? You don't even know me." Chuck's gaze softened, but his words were steel. "Because no one should feel hunted." Her phone buzzed again. Another text, "Tell Norris to back off, or you both bleed." Elena stifled a sob. Chuck read it, his face unreadable. The van was still there, trailing like a shadow. A twist hit, the message named him. Not old man, but Norris. This wasn't chance. They knew who he was, and they wanted him to know it. The bus doors hissed open at the next stop. Chuck stood, grocery bag in hand. "Stay close," he told Elena. She nodded, clutching her backpack. As they stepped onto the sidewalk, the van's engine revved, then fell silent. Chuck's eyes locked on it, his stance wide, ready. The street was quiet, but the air crackled, like before a storm. Elena whispered, "What now?" Chuck's voice was steady, a promise. We find out who's hunting who. Behind them, a figure watched from the bus, phone glowing, typing fast. The game had just begun. The Dallas sidewalk was slick with evening mist, streetlights casting long shadows like fingers reaching. Chuck Norris stepped off the bus, grocery bag in one hand, his other guiding Elena, whose nurse's scrubs clung to her trembling frame. The bus hissed away, leaving them alone under a neon sign buzzing liquor. The black van from the bus stop idled across the street, its engine a low snarl. Chuck's eyes locked on it, his stance wide, like roots in stone. At 84, he moved with purpose, not speed, but his presence filled the air like a storm brewing. Elena clutched her backpack, her breath shallow. They followed us, she whispered, eyes darting to the van. Chuck nodded, his cowboy hat tilting slightly. Stay behind me. The van's headlights flicked on, blinding, then off. A door slid open, and Rico stepped out, scar gleaming under the streetlight. Two others flanked him, one gripping a bat, the other a chain. Told you, Elena, Rico called, voice slick with menace. You don't get to walk away. Chuck set his bag down, slow, deliberate, the milk carton thudding softly. She already did, he said, voice calm, cutting through the night like a blade. Rico's grin twisted. You're tough, old man, but you're in the wrong fight. He glanced at Elena. She didn't tell you what she took, did she? Elena stiffened, her voice cracking. I didn't take anything, Rico. I left you, that's all. Chuck's mind ticked. Took something? This wasn't just a lover's grudge. He stepped forward, hands loose, drawing Rico's gaze. What'd she owe you, son? Rico laughed, bitter. Ask her about the ledger. She knows. Elena shook her head, desperate. He's lying. I swear, her phone buzzed, cutting her off. Another text, no sender, Norris, you're digging your own hole. Walk away. Chuck saw it, his jaw tightening. They knew his every move. A memory surged, 10 years back, Victor's gang, the cartel case. Chuck had exposed their safe house, a ledger detailing their cash flow. Victor, the scarred enforcer, had vowed revenge from a cell. Was Rico his brother? And this ledger, was it the same one? The van's engine revved, snapping Chuck back. Rico motioned, and his men advanced, bat and chain glinting. Last chance, Norris, Rico said. Walk, or bleed. The alley beside them beckoned, a narrow throat of brick and shadow. Chuck grabbed Elena's arm, pulling her toward it. Move, he said, voice low. They ducked in, the men's boots pounding behind. The alley smelled of garbage and rust, a dumpster looming ahead. Chuck pushed Elena behind it, his eyes scanning. Why is he after you? He pressed. No lies. Elena's voice shook. Rico's crew works for someone bigger, Carlos Vega. I overheard Rico on call, talking about a deal, a book of names. I didn't take it, I swear, but he thinks I did. Thinks I'm snitching. Chuck's gut twisted. Vega, Victor's old boss, rumored to still pull strings from prison. This was no coincidence. Footsteps closed in, Rico's voice echoing. No hiding, Elena. Chuck crouched, his hand brushing the knife in his boot, but he didn't draw. Not yet. Then, a twist, a new voice cut through. Enough. A man stepped from the alley's end, older, in a leather jacket, holding a flashlight. His face was lined, eyes hard, a retired cop's badge glinting on his belt. Back off, Rico, he said. You're out of line. Rico froze, his men hesitating. Stay out of this, Torres, he spat, but his voice wavered. The stranger, Torres, glanced at Chuck, a flicker of recognition passing. You're Norris, right? He said, voice low. Heard you were trouble. Chuck's eyes narrowed. How did Torres know him? And why was a retired cop here? Torres faced Rico. Vega's watching, kid. You want to explain this to him? Rico cursed, signaling retreat. His men backed off, the van's tires squealing as they fled. Torres turned to Elena, softening. "You okay, kid?" She nodded, trembling. "Thank you." But Chuck didn't relax. Torres' arrival was too clean, too timed. "Who sent you?" Chuck asked, voice like iron. Torres met his gaze, unreadable. "A friend. Let's leave it." He handed Elena a card. "Safe house, kid. Get there." As Torres walked away, his phone glowed, a text, too quick to read. Chuck's eyes tracked him, suspicion coiling. The alley was quiet, but the air hummed with secrets. Elena whispered, "Can we trust him?" Chuck picked up his bag, eyes on the shadows. "We're about to find out. Someone's watching us." The safe house was a squat brick building off a Dallas backstreet, its windows boarded, a faded for rent sign dangling. The night air was thick with the scent of oil and rotting leaves, the city's pulse muffled by distance. Chuck Norris, 84, led Elena through the rusted gate, his grocery bag tucked under one arm, cowboy hat low. Elena's nurse's scrubs were damp with sweat, her backpack slung tight. The card from Torres, the retired cop, had led them here, promising safety. But Chuck's gut churned. Safety didn't smell like a trap. Inside, the house was bare, peeling wallpaper, a single bulb swinging, casting jagged shadows. Elena's voice trembled. "This doesn't feel right." Chuck nodded, scanning the room. His boots creaked on the floorboards, each step measured, like a hunter sensing eyes in the dark. "Stay close," he said, voice low, steady as stone. He set the bag down, milk sloshing, and checked his phone. No signal. The silence was too heavy, like the world held its breath. A floorboard groaned behind them. Chuck spun, shoving Elena behind a crate. Rico emerged from the shadows, scar glinting, a pistol in one hand. Two men flanked him, bat and chain from the alley, grinning like jackals. "Told you, Norris," Rico sneered. "You walked right into it." Elena gasped, clutching Chuck's arm. "Where's Torres?" she whispered. Chuck's eyes narrowed. "Good question." Rico stepped closer, gun steady. "Elena's got something Vega wants. The ledger, names of every snitch who's crossed him. She took it, thought she could run." Elena shook her head, voice breaking. "I didn't take it. I heard you talk about it, Rico, that's all." Chuck's mind raced. A ledger of informants, tied to Carlos Vega's cartel network. The same one he'd exposed 10 years ago with Victor. This was revenge, and Elena was the bait. "You're wrong about her," Chuck said, hands open, non-threatening. "Let her go, and we talk." Rico laughed, bitter. "Talk? Vega's got plans for you, old man. You burned him once." Chuck's jaw tightened. Vega, still pulling strings from a cell. But how'd Rico know his history? The answer hit like a fist: Torres. The cop's timely arrival, his badge, his card. Too perfect. The bulb flickered, and Bat swung his weapon, splintering a crate. Elena yelped, ducking. Chuck stepped forward, voice like iron. "Back off, son." Bat hesitated, but Chain lunged, his links whistling. Chuck sidestepped, grabbing the chain mid-swing, yanking Chain off balance. He stumbled, crashing into a wall with a grunt. Rico raised his gun, but Chuck was faster, closing the gap, deflecting the barrel upward. A shot cracked, shattering the bulb, plunging them into dark. Elena screamed, scrambling back. Chuck moved by instinct, his years of training a second skin. He twisted Rico's wrist, disarming him, the gun clattering. Bat charged, but Chuck pivoted, using Bat's momentum to slam him into Rico. Both men hit the floor, groaning. The dark was Chuck's ally, his senses sharp, honed by decades. "Elena, door," he barked. She ran, fumbling for the exit. Light flooded the room, headlights through the boards. The van. A new figure stepped in, Torres, flashlight in one hand, a revolver in the other. "Enough," he shouted. Rico cursed, struggling up. Torres, you sold us out. Torres' face was unreadable, his badge glinting. Vega's orders, kid. You're a loose end. He glanced at Chuck, eyes cold. You too, Norris. The twist hit hard. Torres wasn't saving them. He was Vega's cleaner, tying up leaks. Chuck's voice cut through. You set this up. The card, the house. Torres shrugged. Had to flush you out. Vega's got a score to settle. Elena froze, door half open. You're with them, she whispered. Torres didn't answer, his revolver steady. Chuck's mind ticked. Torres knew his moves, his past. But he'd misjudged one thing, Chuck's will. You're making a mistake, Chuck said, stepping closer, hands loose. Torres smirked. You're old, Norris. Out of your depth. But his eyes flicked to Elena, a flicker of doubt. Chuck seized it. She's not your target. Let her walk. Torres hesitated, then lowered the gun an inch. Move, girl, he said. Elena bolted, vanishing into the night. Rico lunged, but Chuck was there, a palm to his chest, dropping him. Torres raised his revolver, but Chuck was already moving, a blur of motion, disarming him with a twist. The gun skidded away. Torres staggered, stunned. You're done, Chuck said, voice final. Headlights flared, the van peeled out, tires screeching. Torres ran, vanishing into the alley. Chuck stood, breathing steady, blood trickling from a cut on his knuckles. Elena's footsteps echoed outside, safe for now. But Torres' words lingered, Vega's score. This wasn't over. Chuck grabbed his bag, the milk carton leaking. A phone buzzed, Rico's, on the floor. A text glowed, Norris is in. Finish it. From Vega. Chuck's eyes hardened. The hunter was hunted. The Dallas night was a tangle of neon and shadow, the air heavy with the tang of asphalt and cheap whiskey. Chuck Norris, 84, moved through the streets like a ghost, his cowboy hat low, denim jacket stained from the safe house scuffle. His grocery bag was gone, left behind, but his resolve was iron. Torres, the double-crossing cop, had fled, and Chuck knew where to find him, a dive bar called Rusty's, a known haunt for Vega's crew. Elena was stashed at her friend's apartment, a temporary haven, but Chuck's gut screamed trouble wasn't far behind. Rusty's was a squat building, its sign flickering, the jukebox spilling twangy chords into the street. Chuck pushed through the door, the scent of stale beer and sweat hitting him. Eyes flicked his way, rough men at the bar, a waitress with tired eyes, but none lingered. At 84, he was just an old man to them. He spotted Torres in a corner booth, nursing a drink, phone glowing. Chuck's boots thudded softly, each step deliberate, his hands loose, ready. Across town, Elena crouched in her friend's dim apartment, curtains drawn. Her phone was off, but her heart raced. A knock rattled the door, soft, then insistent. Elena, it's me, a voice hissed. Rico. She froze, breath shallow, eyeing the fire escape. How'd he find her? The door creaked, a lock picking. She grabbed a kitchen knife, trembling, her nurse's hands unsteady. You can't hide, Rico called, voice venomous. Vega wants his book. Back at Rusty's, Chuck slid into Torres' booth, uninvited. We need to talk, he said, voice low, like gravel on a cold night. Torres flinched, drink sloshing. You're crazy, Norris, he muttered, but his eyes darted, betraying him. Chuck leaned in. Vega's ledger. Why's Elena the key? Torres' jaw tightened. You don't get it. That book's got names, cops, feds, snitches. Vega's cleaning house. Your name's in it, too. Chuck's blood chilled. His name? A memory clawed up, 10 years ago, the cartel case. Chuck had turned Victor, Vega's right hand, into an informant to crack the pipeline. Victor took the fall, swore revenge, but Vega's silence had been deafening. Until now. You sold me out, Chuck said, voice flat. Torres shook his head. Not me. Vega's been waiting. Elena's the spark, she heard too much. A glass shattered nearby. 3 men rose from the bar, Rico's crew, eyes locked on Chuck. Torres bolted, but Chuck was faster, grabbing his wrist, twisting just enough. Where's the ledger? He pressed. Torres hissed, Vega's got it. Ask him yourself. The men closed in, one cracking knuckles, another palming a knife. Chuck stood, stance wide, the bar's hum fading to a pulse. Elena's apartment door splintered. Rico kicked it in, grinning, a blade glinting. No more running, he said. Elena backed toward the fire escape, knife raised. I didn't take it, she cried. Rico lunged, but she swung, slicing his arm. He cursed, staggering, and she bolted, scrambling down the rickety stairs, heart pounding. The street below was empty, but a van's engine roared nearby. She ran, tears blurring her vision. At Rusty's, the fight erupted. Knuckles swung, but Chuck was a shadow, dodging, redirecting. He caught a fist, twisted, sent the man crashing into a table. The knife came next, slashing air. Chuck sidestepped, grabbing the wrist, snapping it with a crack. The third man froze, then ran. The bar fell silent, patrons staring. Chuck's breath was steady, a cut on his cheek barely bleeding. Torres was gone, slipped out in the chaos. A stranger approached, older, in a worn coat, eyes sharp. You're Norris, he said, voice low. Vega's not just Dallas. He's got eyes in Houston, Austin, further. Walk away, or you're dead. Chuck's eyes narrowed. Who are you? The man tossed a crumpled photo on the table. Chuck, 10 years younger, with Victor in cuffs. Someone who knows too much, he said, then vanished into the crowd. Chuck pocketed the photo, mind racing. Vega's grudge was personal, Victor's betrayal, pinned on Chuck. The ledger wasn't just names, it was Vega's vendetta. His phone buzzed, Elena, a panicked voicemail, they found me, Chuck. I'm at the old warehouse, by the tracks. The line cut. Chuck's jaw tightened. She was bait, but he was already moving. Outside, the van idled, headlights off. A text hit Rico's phone, still in Chuck's pocket, Norris is coming. End it. From Vega. Chuck's eyes burned. The ledger, Elena, him, it was all connected. And Vega was watching. The warehouse loomed by the Dallas train tracks, a rusted skeleton under a moonless sky. The air was sharp with the bite of metal and coal dust, the distant clatter of a freight train like a heartbeat. Chuck Norris, 84, moved through the shadows, cowboy hat tilted, denim jacket torn from the bar fight. Elena's voicemail, her panicked plea from this place, drove him forward. His boots crunched gravel, each step a vow. Vega's men had her, and time was bleeding out. The warehouse door was ajar, a sliver of light spilling onto cracked pavement. Chuck crouched, peering inside. 4 men, armed, Rico among them, scar glinting under a hanging bulb. Elena knelt, hands bound, her nurse's scrubs stained. Rico paced, a phone to his ear. Yeah, Vega, she's here. Norris too, soon. Chuck's eyes narrowed. A trap, but he'd walked into worse. He slipped inside, silent, using stacked crates for cover. The air was thick with oil and fear. Elena's eyes flicked up, meeting his, wide with hope and dread. Chuck signaled, stay calm. Rico's voice cut through. You should have stayed quiet, Elena. That ledger's gonna bury you. She shook her head, voice hoarse. I didn't steal it. I copied it, for her. Chuck froze. Copied? Her? A twist hit, Elena wasn't just a bystander. He edged closer, listening. Who's her? Rico snapped, grabbing her arm. Elena winced. A patient, at the hospital. She was one of Vega's, trying to get out. I gave her the names to stay safe. Rico's laugh was cold. And now Vega's cleaning house, starting with you. Chuck's mind raced. The ledger, Vega's list of informants, snitches, traitors. Elena had duplicated it, not to sell, but to protect someone. Noble, but reckless. It explained Vega's hunt, and why Chuck's name was in it, his role in Victor's betrayal a decade ago. But who was this patient? And how deep was Elena's secret? A crate creaked under Chuck's weight. Rico spun, gun raised. "Norris, I know you're there." The men fanned out, weapons gleaming. Chuck stood, hands open, stepping into the light. "Let her go," he said, voice like a low storm. Rico grinned, scar twisting. "You're late, old man." Vega's orders, nobody walks. The standoff crackled. Chuck's stance was wide, eyes locked on Rico. At 84, he didn't move like the young fighters, but his presence was a wall, unyielding, eternal. "You're a pawn, Rico," he said. "Vega's using you." Rico's grin faltered, but he cocked the gun. "Shut up, Ann." A shot rang out, not Rico's. One of his men dropped, clutching his leg, screaming. A new figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, mid-30s, in a leather coat, holding a silenced pistol. Her eyes were hard, a scar tracing her jaw. "Back off, Rico," she said, voice steady. "This isn't your fight." Rico cursed, hesitating. "Who the hell are you?" She glanced at Chuck, a nod of recognition. "Call me Lena. I owe you, Norris, from the old days." Chuck's memory stirred. Lena, a rookie cop during the cartel case, one of Victor's contacts. She'd vanished after the trial. Now here, armed, saving Elena? Lena faced Rico. "Vega's moving tonight, bigger than this. Let the girl go, or you're next." Rico's men wavered, but he stood firm. "You're bluffing." Lena fired again, grazing another man's shoulder. They scattered, dragging their wounded. Rico last, spitting threats. "This ain't over, Norris." The warehouse fell silent, the bulb swaying. Chuck untied Elena, her wrists raw. "You okay?" She nodded, tears falling. "I'm sorry, Chuck. I didn't tell you everything." They stepped outside, Lena leading. "Talk," Chuck said, voice firm but kind. Elena exhaled. The patient, she was Vega's sister, trying to escape him. "I gave her a flash drive with the ledger's names to bargain with the feds. She's gone, but Vega thinks I kept a copy." Chuck's jaw tightened. Vega's sister? This was personal now, for all of them. Lena cut in, urgent. "Vega's got a deal tonight, a shipment, at the docks. Your name's on his list, Norris, but he's after more than revenge. He's rebuilding." Chuck's eyes narrowed. Rebuilding? The cartel case was supposed to end Vega's reign. Lena handed him a burner phone. "Coordinates. Get there, or Elena's never safe." Elena grabbed Chuck's arm. "I didn't mean for this." He met her gaze, steady. "You tried to do right. That's enough for now." But Lena's words lingered, more than revenge. As they moved toward Lena's car, a text hit the burner. "Docks, midnight. Bring the girl, Norris, or everyone burns." From Vega. Chuck's fist clenched. The trap was tightening. The Dallas docks were a maze of cranes and containers, the air thick with salt and diesel, the black water lapping like a restless beast. Midnight hung heavy, clouds choking the stars. Chuck Norris, 84, moved through the shadows, cowboy hat low, denim jacket frayed but his resolve unbroken. Elena followed, her nurse's scrubs torn, eyes fierce with purpose. Lena, the scarred ex-cop, led the way, her silenced pistol ready. Vega's text, "Docks, midnight. Bring the girl, or everyone burns," was a lure, but Chuck was done running. A freighter loomed ahead, its deck crawling with Vega's men, crates stacked high. Rico's voice carried, barking orders, his scar a pale slash under floodlights. Chuck crouched behind a container, scanning. Vega was here, had to be. Elena's breath hitched. "I can end this," she whispered. The flash drive, I kept a copy. Names, dates, Vega's whole network. Chuck's eyes narrowed. You said you didn't have it. Elena's voice cracked. I lied. To protect you. Lena cursed softly. That drives why Vega's after you. And him, she nodded at Chuck. You're both loose ends. Chuck's mind churned. 10 years ago, he'd burned Vega's cartel by turning Victor, Lena's informant contact. Vega's sister, Elena's patient, had been the final betrayal, fleeing with secrets. This wasn't just revenge, it was erasure. But why the docks? Why now? A spotlight swept, pinning them. Rico's shout rang out. Norris! I see you! Gunfire erupted, bullets pinging metal. Chuck pulled Elena down, Lena returning fire, her shots precise. Go! Lena barked. Chuck moved, low and fast, toward the freighter's gangway. Elena clutched the flash drive, a tiny black chip in her trembling hand. If I get this to the feds, Vega's done, she said. Chuck nodded, voice steady. Then we get you there. They boarded, crates shielding them. Rico's men closed in, but Chuck was a shadow, redirecting a punch, dropping one with a knee to the gut. At 84, his moves were economy, not flash, each strike a lesson in control. Elena stayed close, dodging, her courage outpacing her fear. Lena covered them, but a bullet grazed her arm, blood soaking her coat. Keep moving, she growled. The ship's hold opened to a figure, Carlos Vega, lean, graying, in a tailored suit, the ledger open on a crate. His eyes locked on Chuck, cold as winter. You cost me everything, Norris, he said, voice smooth, venomous. Victor, my sister, my empire. Chuck stepped forward, hands loose. You built that on blood. It's over. Vega laughed, gesturing to the crates, explosives, wired, a timer ticking, 3 o'clock. The twist hit, Vega's target wasn't just Chuck or Elena. You thought this was about you? Vega said, eyes flicking to Lena. She's the one who turned my sister. I lured you to draw her out. Lena froze, pistol lowering an inch. Chuck's jaw tightened. Vega had played them all, the docks a trap to end his betrayers in one blast. Elena acted, bolting forward, flash drive raised. This has everything, Vega. Your deals, your men, it's already sent. A lie, but her voice was steel. Vega's smile vanished. He lunged, but Chuck was there, intercepting, a palm strike to Vega's chest, sending him sprawling. Rico charged, knife flashing, but Lena fired, dropping him. The timer hit 1 o'clock. Run! Chuck roared. Elena sprinted, Lena limping behind. Chuck dragged Vega, disoriented, to the deck. Sirens wailed, feds, tipped by Lena's contacts. The timer hit 0, but the explosives fizzled, wires cut by an unseen hand. Chuck's eyes scanned, someone else was here, watching. Vega laughed, coughing. You think this ends me? My network's bigger than you know. Feds swarmed, cuffing Vega, securing the drive. Elena collapsed, sobbing, redeemed but scarred. Lena vanished into the chaos, her debt to Chuck paid. Chuck stood, blood on his knuckles, the photo from the bar, him and Victor, crumpled in his pocket. A dock worker approached, slipping him a note, Vega's gone, but the ledger lives. Watch your back. No signature. The sun rose, painting the docks gold. Elena boarded a Fed van, safe, her truth out. Chuck walked away, hat low, the note heavy. Vega was down, but his shadow lingered. Who cut the wires? Who sent the note? The fight wasn't over. The Dallas motel was a relic, its neon sign stuttering vacancy in pink and green, the air sour with cigarette smoke and regret. 3 days after the docks, Chuck Norris, 84, stood in the parking lot, cowboy hat low, denim jacket patched from fights that hadn't ended. The note from the dock worker, Vega's gone, but the ledger lives. Watch your back, was folded in his pocket, its words a hook in his gut. Vega was in cuffs, Elena safe with the feds, Lena gone. But the ledger, that list of betrayals, wasn't dead. Someone was pulling strings. Chuck's boots crunched on gravel as he approached room 17, the informant's meeting spot, per a burner phone tip. The air was heavy, like before a fight, the distant hum of a highway the only sound. His hand brushed the knife in his boot, old habits, sharp as ever. At 84, he didn't move fast, but he moved right, each step a map of battles won. The door was cracked, a sliver of light leaking out. He pushed it open, senses sharp. Inside, a man sat on a sagging bed, mid-40s, jittery, a laptop open. Papers litter the floor, maps, names, Vega's ledger in fragments. "You Norris," he rasped, eyes darting. Chuck nodded, closing the door. "Talk." The man, calling himself Finch, exhaled. "Vega's network didn't die. Someone new's running it, calls themselves the broker. They've got the ledger, and they're hunting everyone on it. You're top of the list." Chuck's jaw tightened. The broker? A new player, or an old ghost? 10 years ago, he'd dismantled Vega's cartel, but shadows lingered, Victor's allies, Vega's sister, even Lena. Finch slid a USB drive across the bed. Proof. Deals, routes, names. The broker's moving fast, bigger than Vega ever was. Chuck pocketed the drive, eyes never leaving Finch. "Why me?" Finch's voice dropped. "You broke Vega. They want you broken." A knock shattered the silence, urgent, panicked. Chuck opened the door, and Elena stumbled in, nurse's scrubs swapped for a hoodie, her face pale. "Chuck, they found me," she gasped. "The feds lost me, someone's after the drive." Chuck's eyes narrowed. She'd said the drive was sent, her role done. "You're supposed to be safe," he said, voice low, probing. Elena's eyes flicked to Finch, then away. "I lied. I kept a copy, for leverage." The twist stung, Elena, still holding secrets. Finch stood, jittery. "She's trouble, Norris. The broker wants her drive, too." Chuck's mind raced. Elena's lies had pulled him in at the bus stop, and now again. Was she a victim, or a player? Before he could press, glass shattered, a window, back of the room. Two men burst in, masked, guns drawn. "The drive," one barked. Finch dove for the floor, Elena screamed, and Chuck moved. The room was tight, a cage of cheap furniture in panic. Chuck sidestepped a gunshot, grabbing a chair, swinging it into the first man's knees. He crumpled, gun skidding. The second fired, but Chuck was already there, twisting the wrist, dropping him with a crack to the jaw. At 84, his fights were surgical, force where it counted, nothing wasted. The men groaned, out cold. Finch scrambled up, laptop clutched. "They'll keep coming," he hissed, bolting for the door. Chuck grabbed Elena, pulling her to the wall. "Truth, now," he said, voice like iron. She trembled, tears falling. "The broker, they contacted me, offered safety for the drive. I didn't trust them, so I ran to you." Chuck's gut twisted. She'd used him, again. But her fear was real, her hands shaking like that first night at the bus stop. Finch's scream cut through, outside, a van's headlights flared, tires screeching. Chuck ran out, Elena behind. Finch was on the ground, blood pooling, a knife in his chest. The van was gone, but a note pinned to Finch's jacket glowed under the neon. "Norris, you're next. The broker sees all." Chuck's fist clenched. Finch's final whisper gurgled, "The broker, closer than you think." Elena clutched Chuck's arm, sobbing. "I didn't know this would happen." He met her gaze, steady but hard. "You're done lying." She nodded, but her eyes held something, guilt, or fear. Sirens wailed, too late. Chuck pocketed the note, the USB drive heavy in his hand. The broker was out there, and they knew his every move. Was Elena bait, or the key? The motel's neon flickered, and the night swallowed Finch's blood. The safe house was a crumbling apartment above a Dallas pawn shop, its windows taped, the air stale with dust and desperation. Chuck Norris, 84, sat at a rickety table, cowboy hat on the chair, his weathered hands steady as he plugged Finch's USB drive into a battered laptop. Elena paced, her hoodie damp from the motel's chaos, eyes haunted. The broker's note, Norris, you're next. The broker sees all, lay beside the laptop, its thread a pulse in the room. Finch's blood was still fresh in Chuck's mind, and Elena's lies hung heavier than ever. The laptop hummed, files loading, Vega's ledger, fractured but damning. Names, dates, deals. Chuck's eyes scanned, his jaw tight. At 84, he read threats like maps, each line a step toward the broker. Elena stopped pacing, voice low. Finch said I'm on that list, too. What if I'm why they keep coming? Chuck glanced up, his gaze piercing but kind. You're here. That's what matters. Now help me read this. Elena leaned in, pointing at a file labeled broker. It opened to a plan, seizing Vega's routes, from Dallas to Houston, a new empire rising from the ashes. The broker wasn't just a successor, they were a predator, and Chuck's name was marked, eliminate. Threat to transition. Elena's breath caught. They're not just after the drive. They want you gone. Chuck nodded, voice like gravel. And you're the bait. A thud shook the door, hard, deliberate. Chuck stood, motioning Elena behind the couch. The window rattled, shadows moving outside. Stay down, he whispered, his hand brushing the knife in his boot. The door splintered, 3 enforcers bursting in, masked, armed with batons and a silenced pistol. The drive, Norris, one growled, voice muffled but sharp. Chuck's stance widened, a wall of calm in the storm. The room erupted. Chuck dodged a baton, grabbing the attacker's arm, twisting until it cracked. The second swung, but Chuck sidestepped, shoving him into the third, a tangle of limbs crashing into the wall. The gunman fired, a bullet grazing Chuck's shoulder, blood seeping through his denim jacket. He didn't flinch, closing the gap, disarming the shooter with a wrist snap, the pistol clattering. At 84, his fights were precision, not power, each move a checkmate. Elena acted, grabbing the laptop, shoving the USB drive into her pocket. I'll get it out, she shouted, bolting for the fire escape. Chuck blocked a baton, yelling, Elena, wait. But she was gone, the metal stairs clanging. The enforcers scrambled, one chasing her, the others down but stirring. Chuck knelt, binding their wrists with a torn curtain, his shoulder throbbing. The room was quiet, but the broker's shadow loomed. Outside, Elena sprinted, the drive burning in her pocket. She ducked into an alley, heart pounding, but a figure blocked her path, Lena, the ex-cop, scar glinting under a streetlight, pistol raised. Give it to me, Lena said, voice cold. Elena froze, voice trembling. You're with them? Lena's eyes flickered, anger, or guilt. You don't get it, kid. That drives my way out. Back in the safe house, Chuck checked the laptop, a hidden file blinking, broker ID. He opened it, and a photo loaded, Lena, younger, with Vega, a date from the cartel case. The twist hit like a fist, Lena, the broker? She'd saved them at the warehouse, vanished after the docks. Was she playing both sides, or something deeper? A note in the file read, Lena, eliminate threats to rebuild. Norris first. Chuck's phone buzzed, Elena, a frantic text, Lena's here. Alley off 5th, help. He grabbed his hat, blood dripping, and ran. The alley was a narrow throat, Elena cornered, Lena's gun steady. Chuck stepped in, voice like thunder. Lena, stand down. She turned, eyes hard but conflicted. You don't understand, Norris. Vega broke me. This is my chance. Elena tossed the drive to Chuck, a desperate move. It's not worth this, she cried. Lena lunged, but Chuck caught her wrist, disarming her, the gun skidding. Lena staggered, voice breaking. I didn't want this. The ledger was my leverage, to end it. Chuck's gaze softened, but his grip held. Then why my name? Lena's silence was her answer. Sirens wailed, closing in, feds, likely tipped by Elena's earlier call. Lena pulled free, vanishing into the dark, leaving her gun. Elena sank to the ground, sobbing. I thought I could fix it. Chuck pocketed the drive, eyes on the shadows. Lena was out there, the broker or not, and the ledger's truth was still unfolding. A burner phone in Lena's gun case buzzed, a text glowing, Norris lives. Plan B. No sender. The abandoned factory crouched on Dallas's outskirts, its broken windows like empty eyes, the air heavy with rust and decay. Chuck Norris, 84, moved through the weeds, cowboy hat low, shoulder bandaged from the safe house fight. Elena trailed, clutching the USB drive, her hoodie shadowing her face. Lena's escape in the alley, her gun left behind, pointed here, a tip from a Fed contact who'd tracked her burner phone. The broker's text, Norris lives. Plan B, burned in Chuck's mind. Whatever Plan B was, Lena was the key. The factory's steel door hung loose, groaning as Chuck eased it open. Inside, shadows danced under a caved-in roof, moonlight glinting off rusted machinery. Elena's voice was a whisper. She's here, Chuck. I feel it. Chuck nodded, his boots silent on the concrete, knife in his boot a quiet comfort. At 84, he was a hunter, not a sprinter, his instincts sharper than steel. A faint hum, electronics, drew him deeper, toward a flickering light. A figure stepped from the dark, not Lena. A man, late 20s, lean, with Vega's sharp cheekbones, holding a flashlight but no weapon. Norris, he said, voice steady. I'm Marco. Vega's son. Chuck's eyes narrowed, hand ready. Prove it. Marco tossed a photo, Vega, younger, with a boy. I cut ties years ago. Lena's working for the broker, but I know her plan. I can help. Elena tensed, gripping the drive. Why trust you? Marco's gaze was hard. Because the broker wants me dead, too. Chuck gestured to the light, a laptop, rigged to a generator, files open. Marco nodded. Lena was here, left this. The broker's Plan B. Chuck scanned the screen. Plan B was a power grab, rigging city contracts, buying cops, a new cartel empire starting in Dallas. The ledger's names were pawns, marked for elimination or blackmail. Chuck's name glowed red, neutralize. Elena's was there, too, with a note, leverage for Norris. The twist hit, Marco's knowledge was too precise. How'd you find this? Chuck asked, voice like a blade. Marco hesitated. Lena, she raised me, after Vega disowned me. She's the broker, but she's slipping. Wants me back. Chuck's gut churned. Lena, the broker, raising Vega's son? Her loyalty was a maze, ally at the warehouse, traitor now. But Marco's story held cracks. Why defect so easily? A clatter echoed, metal on concrete. Chuck spun, shoving Elena behind a machine. Flashlights stabbed the dark, 5 enforcers advancing, armed with pipes and a shotgun. Broker says no witnesses, one shouted. Marco dove for cover, shouting, they're hers. Chuck's stance widened, blood pulsing. The factory was a trap, and Marco's arrival too convenient. The fight was chaos in the gloom. Chuck dodged a pipe, grabbing the attacker's arm, twisting until it snapped. The shotgun roared, pellets sparking off steel. Chuck rolled, kicking a crate into the shooter's legs, toppling him. Elena screamed, swinging a wrench, felling another. Marco fought, too, fists quick, but his eyes darted, like he was waiting. Chuck disarmed the last, a knee to the gut, the man collapsing. Silence fell, broken by Elena's gasps. Chuck grabbed Marco, pinning him to a wall. Talk. You led them here. Marco's face was pale, but his voice held. No, Lena's tracking the drive. I swear, I'm done with her. Elena clutched the USB, voice shaking. He's lying, Chuck. He knew too much. Chuck's eyes bored into Marco's. last chance. Marco exhaled. There's a meet, tomorrow, old train yard. The broker's there. I'll get you in. Elena pulled Chuck aside, whispering. He's Vega's blood. We can't trust him. Chuck nodded, but his mind ticked. Marco was a risk, but a lead. The laptop beeped, a hidden file, locked, titled Broker's Endgame. No time to crack it. Chuck pocketed the drive, eyes on Marco. You're with us. One wrong move, you're done. As they fled, a glint caught Chuck's eye, a phone, dropped by an enforcer, screen glowing. A text, Marco's in. Norris falls tomorrow. No sender. Chuck's fist clenched. Marco's story was unraveling, and Lena, or the broker, was watching. The factory creaked, shadows shifting, as if the night itself was alive. The train yard sprawled under Dallas's night sky, a graveyard of rusted cars and twisted rails, the air sharp with oil and frost. Chuck Norris, 84, moved through the shadows, cowboy hat low, shoulders stiff from the factory fight. Elena clutched the USB drive, her hoodie torn, eyes fierce with resolve. Marco, claiming to be Vega's son, led them, his flashlight flickering, his claim of a broker meet driving them here. The text from the factory, Marco's in. Norris falls tomorrow, nod at Chuck. Trust was a thin thread, and the broker was close. The yard's heart was a clearing, floodlights blazing, a black SUV idling beside a stack of crates. Lena stood there, scar glinting, no gun, her leather coat flapping in the wind. You're late, Norris, she called, voice steady but tired. Chuck stepped forward, stance wide, Elena and Marco behind. Broker or not, Lena, this ends tonight, he said, voice like stone. Marco tensed, hand twitching, his loyalty a coin still flipping. Elena raised the drive, voice shaking but bold. This has everything, your plans, the ledger. The feds are coming. Lena's eyes flicked to Marco, then Chuck. You think I'm the broker? I've been burning Vega's world for years. The twist hit, she wasn't the mastermind, but a double agent, using the broker's name to sabotage from within. The real broker? Dead, Lena said. I took him out last week. His lieutenants are running Plan B. Headlights flared, 3 vans, disgorging enforcers, armed with rifles. Lena's lying, one shouted, voice raw. Marco drew a pistol, aiming at Chuck, then swung, firing at the enforcers. I'm with you, Norris, he yelled, proving his claim. Chuck's gut eased, Marco's loyalty held, Vega's blood redeemed. The yard became a battlefield, bullets sparking off rails. Chuck moved like a storm shadow, dodging fire, disarming a rifleman with a wrist twist, dropping him with a palm strike. At 84, his fights were art, minimal, devastating. Elena ducked behind a car, uploading the drive's data via a burner phone, her nurse's hands steady now. It's sent, she shouted, feds alerted. Marco fought beside Chuck, taking a graze but standing firm. Lena dove into the fray, her shots precise, cutting down 2 enforcers. The lead enforcer, a hulking man with a scarred lip, grabbed Elena, rifle to her head. Drop it, Norris, or she's done. Chuck froze, hands open, eyes locked on the man's. You're out of moves, Chuck said, voice calm, eternal. Lena acted, tackling the enforcer, giving Elena a chance to break free. Chuck closed the gap, a knee to the man's gut, dropping him. The remaining enforcers fled, vans screeching away. Lena stood, blood on her coat, eyes meeting Chuck's. I raised Marco to spite Vega, she said. Used the broker's name to gut his network. You were bait, Norris, to draw them out. Chuck's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Betrayal for justice, he'd seen it before. Elena, panting, handed him the drive. It's over, she said, tears falling. I'm free. Sirens wailed, feds closing in. Marco helped Lena up, their bond clear, family, not blood. The crates, opened by feds later, held cash and ledgers, Plan B's backbone, rigged contracts, bribed officials, a city takeover stopped cold. Chuck stood apart, Hat low, the factory's locked file cracked by Elena, broker's endgame listed Vega's last allies, now exposed. As feds cuffed the fallen, a burner phone buzzed in the lead enforcer's pocket. Chuck read the text, Plan B failed. Plan C begins. Find Norris. No sender. His fist clenched. Lena was clean, the broker's lieutenant's down, but Vega's shadow, or another's, lingered. Elena approached, voice soft. I'll testify, Chuck. No more lies. He nodded, a faint smile. You did good, kid. Marco and Lena vanished with Fed protection, their fight their own now. Chuck walked into the dawn, the train yard quiet, rails gleaming like promises. The note from the docks, the texts, the ledger, they were pieces of a puzzle not fully solved. Who sent Plan C? The city breathed, but its pulse was uneasy.